Hello, everybody. Welcome to it. Today, we're looking at day 233 of our Bible reading plan. And the book that's under review today, it's the book of Jeremiah, chapters 32 all the way through to chapter 34. And beginning with chapter 32, the chapter really begins with Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, in jail because his own king put him there. The king just got sick and tired of his prophecies of doom at the hands of the Babylonian army. And while all of that is happening, Jerusalem is currently under attack from the Babylonian army. And you see that already in the first two verses of the chapter. But then God sends Jeremiah a message about Jeremiah's cousin coming to sell him land. Indeed, Jeremiah ends up buying this land and then later prays to God about the wisdom of this crazy idea of buying land, especially since Jerusalem is under attack, the nation of Israel is under attack, and the land is due for destruction at the hands of the Babylonian army. And Jeremiah is at the back of this context that he now prays to God about the wisdom of the sale that's happening between him and his cousin. In response, God then re-emphasizes his resolve to destroy Jerusalem, to destroy the nation of Israel, his chosen people. But interestingly, this chapter sort of wraps up nicely with God also giving them a promise of restoration, that once his anger subsides, he will restore the people of Israel's fortunes. And going to chapter 33, we see the once again Sjerana Obrajeris Jerere. He's still in jail, and God sends him another voice note. And then this time, God promises through the prophet Jeremiah that he himself will cleanse the people of Israel of all their sin, and also God will also forgive them of all of their EFF tendencies that they've displayed so far and causing him all this anger. But what was interesting for me to note in this chapter is that we also see a hint of the promise of the coming Messiah here. Of course, not as elaborate as we have seen in the book of Isaiah, but at least we get a glimpse nonetheless in this chapter, and we're told that then his name will be "The Lord is our righteousness." This chapter then ends with a rather elaborate promise of God's restoration for his chosen people's fortunes, that he will turn everything around and he will restore them to prosperity and peace once more. Chapter 34, finally, as we draw nearer to a close for this video, we see that here now God again sends another voice note to Prophet Sjerana to go tell the King Zedekiah that the time for the Babylon takeover has now fully arrived, and he must not even try fight it. They will take him alive and won't kill him. He will then die later in peace, and the people will mourn him nicely. They will burn incense, etc., etc. But then a little later, then there was also a proclamation of freedom for the slaves. So the people of Israel had enslaved some of the people there, and there was now a covenant that no, they must release the slaves and so on. And so the slaves were released. But then the slave masters changed their minds a little later, to which then God was very angry and promised them even more destruction at the hands of the Babylonian army, because now they broke this particular oath as well. And the people of Israel were really hard in their heads. But nonetheless, as I close, there's a verse that jumped out. There's a verse that jumped out for me. And this verse is found in chapter 33. It's actually the first verse of the chapter. It reads, "While Jeremiah was still confined in the courtyard of the guard, the Lord gave him the second message." While Jeremiah was still confined, this is the part where Jeremiah is in jail. the king put him in jail because he's sick of his prophecies. But so this sort of signifies is that he had lost some of his freedom of movement, certainly. He's in jail. Some of his rights have been violated here. And through that confinement, God is still with him. Not only that, God is still talking to him. God is still sending him voice notes for him to continue doing his job as a prophet, which was very interesting for me, that when the chosen mouthpiece of God, in trouble or not with the authorities of the time, it does not, and it did not affect his relationship with his heavenly employer, God himself. God continued to work with him, God continued to talk to him, and God continued to give him assignments, even though he was going through such a difficult time in his life. I hope this becomes some thing that we use as a way to also meditate about where we are in our own lives and what we're going through, vis-a-vis whether or not God is talking, whether or not God is silent. So that's why that verse jumped out at me. But otherwise, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, for listening. Take this as an invite as well to come join us in our daily Zoom meetings, where the greater team goes through these chapters, and they also share what God has revealed in their hearts for them as far as these scriptures are concerned, and then we just go into a bit more detail around our learnings in this regard. So please join us. The details are here in the bottom of this video. Yeah, thank you for watching once again. Bye.